So, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here to learn a little bit about global learning as a cognitive science or psychology major. We're glad to have you here. We'll start off with some introductions and then go over what we're going to present, and then we'll wrap everything up with a Q&A. So my name's Julia Wanlin. I am one of the psychology undergraduate advisors. I use she, her pronouns. And I will pass it to Arturo to present or to introduce himself.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having us. I'm Arturo Torres. I currently work as a global learning advisor here on campus at UCSC. And yeah, the goal of today is to really share information that's really relevant to you all as cognitive science and psych majors. So first and foremost, thank you, Julia and Paige, for organizing this and bringing us to where your students are. So we really appreciate this collaboration. Thank you.
I'm Paige. I use she, hers pronouns. I'm also one of the psychology undergraduate advisors. And my role today is going to be facilitating the Q&A. So we do have the Q&A feature available for you all. We just ask that you use that because it's a little more organized. It's a little less clunky than the chat, so I can just answer things in order. So what we'll do is throughout, just feel free to submit questions there. And at the end, we have a good chunk of time for a Q&A. So that's me, and I'll pass it over to Lola.
Hi, my name's Lola, and my pronouns are she, they, and I'm a psychology peer advisor. And I've studied abroad at the University of Sussex. I studied abroad like last year. So,
Um, um, so today we will start off by going over some general information about the global learning process and how to get started with that, along with financial planning for your time abroad. And then I will jump into how you can complete GE requirements abroad, major requirements abroad, which ones you're not allowed to take abroad and have to be taken at UCSC, along with how to know what courses abroad can satisfy major requirements and how you can submit new ones to be reviewed. And then I'll talk a little bit about our global internship program. And then Arturo will go over some program highlights, some common universities that psychology and cognitive science students study at. And then Lola will share a little bit about her experience at the University of Sussex. And then, like Paige said, we'll wrap it up with a Q&A.
Great, thank you so much. So for ease of explanation, instead of having us all just hop onto our actual website, I just went ahead and did some screenshots for you all to see point of references on how you can begin engaging with the information found on our website. Now, of course, you're always welcome to make appointments with their advisors, come to drop-ins, which I'll talk a little more about later in terms of where to find that information. But generally, right, you can always start looking at information by going to globallearning.ucsc.edu or simply Googling us. You can just type in UCSC Study Abroad and it'll be always that first link that appears right at the beginning. And essentially, when you click on that page, you will be redirected to this exact same thing you're seeing on screen, where you can find all things study abroad. And to be more specific, for at least this beginning portion, I definitely wanted to start by talking about the Get Started tab, which is in the next slide for us. Perfect. And once you hover the Get Started, you'll realize that these are all drop-down menus. And essentially why we're here at the Get Started is because many of you, unless you've spoken with us already, right, are engaging with our office for the very first time. So these bits of information you'll find here are going to be crucial as you begin in preparation to talk to us, or maybe just reviewing some information that you might have missed in an appointment or just want to come and check it out on your own, right? Some people are much like independents and they want to find their own information before inquiring about anything. But generally, right, just to give you a snippet, you can find information under the Get Started tab about why global learning, right? Why is it that students choose to go study abroad with us? In comparison to some of the other programmings around campus or even other study abroad campuses around the world. We tell you how to apply. And the reason we tell you how to apply is because as you see in the center of the screen, those squares where it says global seminars, partner programs, each of those squares represents a significant or different program type offered to our campus. So each of them has a unique application process. And we highlight that in the how to apply section, and we break it down by program, and you can quickly just select and redirect it to the actual step-by-step guide on how to do that. The next thing is going to be academic planning. I won't talk too much about this just because our psych and cog sci advisors here are going to tell us more about what specifics around that are relative to your major, but generally you can come in here to find details on generally how you submit petitions for major or minor credit, to learn about the petitions for GEs, and just general information so that you can best prepare this academic journey of yours, right? Because yes, we are studying abroad, but primarily we are an academic unit on campus. So our primary goal is to align you with a proper program that gets you the classes, graduate on time, at the same time with giving you the opportunity to go global, right? Go study abroad and experience different things out there. In addition to that, we also have student stories. If you're interested in seeing what other students have to say, the cool thing that we just implemented this really neat filter feature where you can filter by experience type. For instance, if you're interested in a particular uh, group of students, if you share a particular, interests, part of a subgroup, right? These are places that you can come to. Maybe you want to know about students that have gone to Spain, first gen, etc., right? These are great stories you can access. You can also do identities abroad. These are amazing resources that we've compiled with partners around campus, the Cantu Center, El Centro, right? Where you can come in. If you have an affinity group that you're part of, this is a great location for that type of information. If you don't find it, you can always reach out to us directly as well. And then lastly, there are some health and safety considerations there and additional resources for folks that might be veterans dependents, and other resources there that you can find to help you in the process. And then in the next slide, we'll just go into the next section, which is finances, right? This is a major component. This is by far the most important conversation that we have with students with good reason, right? Every student comes in with a different financial situation, whether that be scholarships, financial aid, support from family. So this is going to be an important component of our conversations as we navigate the programs. Each program, as you'll notice as you begin your journey, is that each program has its accompanying costs, budgets. So we are here to help you understand what that looks like and tell you what the cost of participation is. Like, what does that entail? What does it include? That way you can really understand, like, what's the holistic approach here? Like, what exactly am I paying for? And is it worth my investment and the overall experience that I'll be getting from this investment, right? Now, in addition to that, there is something called the financial aid estimate. This is an amazing tool that the financial aid office here at UC Santa Cruz has created for you all as students. And what it does is that it pulls from your most recent financial aid application on file on campus. And generally, it just asks for some generic information. It'll ask for your student's aid index number, which is found in your FAFSA application. And what this does is it uses the information that you input into the system to generate an estimate that you're going to receive for this study abroad opportunity. Now, again, these are usually released closer to the time of the application. So for instance, let's say you're trying to go for fall 2025. Those applications are closed, but just as an example, you were applying for that term. So the financial aid estimate tool became available with the most up-to-date information as of possibly at the beginning of this quarter, right? Or actually, no, sorry, the midwinter. So you can see that the closer you get to the program, the more accurate this system is going to be. And you can always touch base with financial aid as well to know more about what your current situation is and what type of support you might be able to get from that. But this is a great resource. The next one is global learning budgets. These are just recommendations we have for financial success for the programs. There's also tools for global learning. For students that are veterans and GI recipients, we have information there, right? There's a particular population on campus, so these are things that we need to take into consideration. So if you are within that group, please take a look at that resource and let us know if you have questions. Your campus department here at the Veteran Affairs is also a great support system. And in addition to that, right, there's postgraduate scholarships, but most importantly, right, in addition to finances, there are tons of scholarships specifically for study abroad opportunities. So there's tons and tons of great information there. So I wanted to just quickly introduce that. Again, you can find some great information, and I'll pass it over to our psychology advisors. Thank you.
All right. So I'm going to start off with completing GE requirements abroad. As Arturo said, all of these instructions can be found under the Get Started Academic Planning tab on their website. But essentially, the process starts off with you completing a CCI petition, which is linked on these slides. We will also share these slides and this recording with you all after the video, so you'll have all of these links handy. It does take about 4 to 6 weeks for the petitions to be reviewed, so just keep that in mind when you're planning. It's better to start early, just to give yourself that time to choose classes before it's time to enroll while you're abroad. And then any questions about this process can be emailed to cci@ucsc.edu. And then next, before I jump into which major requirements you can satisfy abroad, I'm going to start off with the ones that you can't. So number one, you cannot take lower division major requirements while you're abroad. They can be taken here, they can be taken at a community college if you want, but they can't be satisfied abroad. Second, courses that are used to satisfy the disciplinary communications requirement, the DC requirement, have to be taken at UCSC no matter what. And so for both Psych and Cog Sci majors, that is Psych 100 and your senior seminar. And then for psychology majors specifically, you have to take at least one developmental, one cognitive, and one social psychology course at UCSC. And that will make a little bit more sense once I go into how you can, or which major requirements you can complete while you're abroad. So I'll start off with psychology. Like I said, one developmental, one cognitive, one social upper div psych course has to be taken at UCSC. You can satisfy 2 of your additional upper division psychology courses while you're abroad, and they do need to be from different subfields. So, for example, you could do a developmental and a cognitive psych course abroad. And then the third course that you can take while you're abroad is your upper division outside course. And let's say, for example, you've already satisfied your upper division outside course before you study abroad. That means that you would be limited to only 2 major requirements while abroad, the 2 upper division additional psych courses. So you can't really substitute another one in. These are the maximum 3 that you can take as a psych major. For cognitive science, you are able to take 2 upper division cognitive courses abroad. We have some cognitive core courses that are already approved, but most of the time I would say it's cognitive electives that you're taking. And then you can also take 1 upper division interdisciplinary elective abroad. And with cognitive science, there is a little bit more flexibility. So you can do 2 cognitive psych courses and 1 upper division interdisciplinary elective. But if you did want to switch that and do 1 cognitive course and 2 upper division interdisciplinary electives, that is an option. It is a little bit less common, but it is an option. Okay, so now figuring out how do I know what courses will satisfy these major requirements? So the first thing that I would recommend you do if you want to take major requirements abroad is to check out our pre-approved course list, which looks like this, and I'll pull that up. So there's like over 400 courses on this list from various universities. They're organized by country and program. And one note that I got from Lola, which I think is important, is that these are all of the courses that have ever been approved by our department from programs abroad. So some of the courses may be out of date. They may not be offered at that university. And so that's again why it's important to start planning for your time abroad ahead of time so that you can know where you're studying abroad and kind of plan for what courses are they offering while I'm going to be abroad. And then as far as figuring out what major requirements these courses will satisfy, it's labeled here. So each subfield is labeled developmental, cognitive, clinical, so on. some courses are listed as an equivalent course at UCSC. So let's say you took this course, it's equivalent to one Psych 123 at UCSC. That means it would satisfy a cognitive psych course. But if you took this course and Psych 123 at UCSC, they both couldn't satisfy a major requirement because technically they're equivalent courses. So you could only take one of them. And then for upper division interdisciplinary electives for cognitive science majors, they're listed as upper div IE and they have the emphasis next to it. And then if no courses are approved for the program that you want to study abroad at, or if you're interested in taking courses that just aren't on the list, we do have a process for petitioning for new courses to be approved to satisfy major requirements. So it's a pretty simple Google form. You'll just fill out your name, your major, what class you're petitioning for, and where it's at. It's very helpful if you have a syllabus, but if you only have a course description, we can work with it, but we may need to ask for more information.
Can I come in and add some more information, Julia?
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, when you are, again, by all means, please utilize the pre-approved course list, right? This is the most streamlined way that's going to support you in knowing historically what psych programs are around the country in the US or also in the world, right? But just as they were saying, if the classes or at least the programs you're interested in aren't included in that, or maybe some classes are no longer offered at the university that were previously approved through this pre-approved course list, again, come talk to our office, right? We are the ones that are trained to essentially help you navigate the course catalogs at these universities. That way you can successfully submit a major course review form, right? I know oftentimes students want to ask their advisors in the department for what classes do I take? And as much as they would love to be able to help you, they just don't know how to do that, right? So when you're talking about finding information about a course abroad, whether that be a syllabus or just descriptions or just learning how to navigate that system in general, come talk to us. This is why we're here at Global Learning, and we'll collaborate with you in addition to your advisors at Psych to help you then submit some really solid review forms so that hopefully it gives you a really good chance at getting those classes approved. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And then last thing with the major course review process, we do have this guide. So if you're ever unsure, if you're looking for courses abroad to count towards your major requirements, or you're meeting with Global Learning and trying to find courses, you can use this guide to kind of help you figure out, so I see this course, it says it's a psych course, but what major requirement exactly will it satisfy? So we kind of have it split up by subfield and some key phrases that you can look for in the course descriptions or syllabi to figure out what subfield a course would fall under. And we have just the same thing for cognitive science majors here too. Okay. And then outside of studying abroad through UCAP or a partner program, we also have our global internship program. And so this is only offered through over summer. In order to apply to it, you must attend an info session. And there is a bunch of information listed on the Global Learning website related to it. So currently there are only 2 placements for the field study program. One is in Ireland and one is in South Africa, and you can click on each of these to learn more about them. Our field study coordinator, Carrie Walker, knows more about this program than myself. So if you do have any questions, it's best to email her at scifield@ucsc.edu. But as far as which major requirements Psych 193I can satisfy, if you are a general psychology major, it can satisfy one of your additional psych courses. If you're an intensive psychology major, it can satisfy both quarters of independent study that are required, or it could satisfy one of your additional psych courses. If you're a cognitive science major, then it can satisfy one of your cognitive electives. I'll pass it to Arturo.
Yeah, thank you so much. And as we get into the program highlights before getting into the next slide here is, right, you'll start realizing how much opportunity there is within global learning, right? So yes, we have partner programs in UCAP, and we won't have too much time here to get too into the weeds of what the differences are. And again, you're more than welcome to come chat with us. But just to share some information is that our office not only works with internships, right? We actually have opportunities for academics, which is the traditional study abroad opportunity where you go and take classes at a university abroad. We have field work, we have research opportunities as well. So don't think it's just, oh, I'm going to go take classes and do some GEs, maybe some major credits. No, we have some really real world experiences that you can partake in, such as that global internship that can really help you catapult your interest, right? So internships are great opportunities where, you know, not only can you work in the field, but it's going to really reaffirm within, let's say you do cog sci or psychology, it's going to reaffirm a particular subsect of psych, or maybe you decide, hey, based on this internship, I don't like this particular field within psychology. Let me explore something else in the other realm, right? So these are definitely wins. You can't, don't think, look, going to the internship saying, hey, if I didn't like it, does that mean I don't like psychology? Not necessarily. That just means that that particular field within psychology wasn't for you. Well, now you know that. That's a win, right? Because then you can start exploring some other avenues, and that's something that we can hopefully support you with some of our global learning opportunities. But with that, I'll go on to the next slide. Thank you. So as we get into the next slide here is you'll start just seeing, these are just examples of opportunities that we have, and these are more than likely going to be part of that pre-approved course list. So one of those being the University of Melbourne, located in Australia. This, I've been privileged enough to be able to visit this place back in a few years. I'm not going to say when, but it's a few years. Just not want to age myself here, right? But this is a unique place. Just know that if you go to Australia or anywhere in Oceania, the seasons are flipped. So if you're thinking that you're going in the summertime because it is summer here, it's actually winter in that area as well. But really, really interesting place, right? They predominantly English speaking. They are probably one of the cities outside of Europe that feels the most European in that if you're really into the cafe scene, going to small alleys and finding cafes and really engaging in that type of environment, you will absolutely love Melbourne. There's so much to do there. And this one in particular, and you might find it as you begin exploring some of our programs, that there might be some cross-listing. So for example, what I mean by that is this university in particular is listed as a partner program, but also listed as a UCAP program. And oftentimes students will ask, like, what exactly is the difference? Well, just to say it really briefly here is that UCAP is the University of California system-wide study abroad provider, right? So this is available to all UC students. Doesn't matter from where. So more than likely, if you participate through a UCAP program, you'll have a UC cohorts there with you along the entire process. Now, on the partner program side, think of that as just being a direct relationship that UCSC has built with that university. So what that means for you is you'll still pay your normal UCSC tuition. So you're going to be paying the same in tuition cost, but more than likely, the cost of living at this city is going to be a little less. So overall, you might see some cost savings depending on where you decide to live and your overall choices in terms of how you'd like to live while you're there, right? If you're okay with cooking your own food, of course, that'll bring the cost down, but we can get into more details if you ever want to meet with us in that sense. The next slide, please. Another opportunity is, again, staying within Australia. This is the University of Sydney, another amazing location. This is by far probably one of students' favorites in that region. With good reason, right? I mean, this is probably the most iconic location, the Opera House in Sydney in the harbor there. Amazing international city, great education, amazing food scene. And I'm sure a lot of students end up enjoying this immensely, right? Again, one of the biggest locations there. And honestly, outside of academics, right, this being one of the best universities in the region, they have a pretty large airport. So students are quite interested in being able to move around, experience Australia, but also Australia is the gateway to Indonesia as well. So a lot of the times students do opt to travel into Indonesia while, they have some free time or after the programs as well. So just know that this is an incredible opportunity if you're willing to partake in it. And again, it's part of your pre-approved course list of programs. So, and the next one, please. All right. So now we're making our way up north. So again, British Columbia. So if you're interested in, instead of Australia, you want to go to Canada, this is an amazing location, as you can see there, right? So you have the amazing connection between the the cities of British Columbia, but also the immense nature that's right next door. So if you're a person that enjoys the outdoors, you like hiking, right? This might be a really great opportunity for you. And again, you won't be too far from home. You can always come visit, and it's not gonna cost you too much if you wanted to come back for, let's say, Christmas time or whatever the time you're going abroad. So this is a really great location. And then the other ones is Aarhus. Aarhus is another one that's cross-listed as a partner program and through UCAP. This one, from what we've been told, this is a university that's not necessarily close to a big city. So if you're thinking Copenhagen, it's not near Copenhagen, it's on the other side of the Delta. But if you're looking for a really authentic Scandinavian program and experience, this is definitely a fantastic place to do that because you'll be with local students. Again, you're away from the big tourist area like Copenhagen is, right? So you're going to have a really authentic experience with locals. So this is a great place. That's not to say that you can't travel to Copenhagen and then also have it be the gateway of Europe, but just know that it'll take some time for you to get to a big train station or airport. But again, amazing opportunity, great classes, tons of really good courses taught in English in various topic areas, specifically Psych and Cog Sci for this program. Thank you. The next one, please. All right. And University of Sussex, again, I won't go too much into detail because we have a local expert here that is going to tell us more about that program. But again, this is an amazing opportunity within the United Kingdom. If you're interested in going to another location, stay in Europe, but predominantly English speaking. Of course, one can argue that, hey, sometimes the American English versus UK English is a completely different world. But again, at least there is that notion that you can go in there and get around fairly easily with the English that you currently know. And again, the mind, as you all cognitive science majors know, the mind is a magnificent thing and it adapts fairly well to new environments. So I'm sure that you'll find yourself in a good place at Sussex. And it's, I would say, I mean, you can tell us more, Lola, I mean, in terms of how proximity to places like London and some bigger areas, but I'll let you talk more about that in just a sec. And then we'll go into some of the other ones. We'll just kind of keep going here. I know that we're almost at the halfway mark. But again, just showing you some more examples, right? Again, Trinity College in Dublin. Look at, I mean, the scenery, if you're interested in really the medieval environment, right? Again, Trinity College Dublin has an amazing psychology program. You can take courses there. We can, again, demonstrate how to find courses, tell you more about the region if you're ever interested in just talking about that particular place. And into the next one, please. And then you'll start seeing some other programs that are offered to UCAP. Like I mentioned before, right? We have internships, field work, exchange programs where you're enrolling as a regular student at those universities. Well, there's also this type of program, right? Where you're still technically enrolling at a university, in this case, University of Padua. If you're a fan of Shakespeare and Romeo and Juliet, this is going to be a fantastic place for you, right? But just generally, there are programs that are niche in that they're psychology and cognitive science specific. So as you'll notice in the pre-approved course list, this is probably one of the programs that has the most extensive classes of pre-approved. Now, again, there might be some classes that are no longer offered, but I am fully confident that they've replaced those older classes with some newer psych classes just because, again, this is the target population for students. So if Italy is something that you have an affinity to, why not go to University of Padua? They have a great program there for you all. And then, well, in terms of what other locations you all can go, and again, these are just prominent ones that we have found time and time again to be friendly for psych and cog sci students. By no means is this a catch-all. There's still going to be other programs that offer psych classes. So if you didn't see you're interested or country of interest here, just come talk to us. We can explore what those look like. But generally, right, similar to the Padua program, like that niche program, we have the psych and neuroscience program in the Netherlands. We also have the University of Barcelona, if you're interested in being in that part of the world, Madrid, or maybe Europe is not your jam and you want to go over to parts of Asia where we have South Korea. We have also parts of Africa and Cape Town. And then we also have New Zealand. And coming back to Europe, we have the University of Edinburgh. And let's see, I think that's almost at the other side. If you go on the next slide for me, please. Yeah, and I'll pass it over to our regional expert, Lola. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so I studied abroad at the University of Sussex in Brighton. And Brighton is kind of located, I would say, kind of more near the coast. So it's kind of like the pebble beaches and stuff like that. And then London, I would say, is about like maybe an hour away by like train. It's not too bad because like there's tons of trains and like buses everywhere. But also, I guess like my favorite part about studying abroad was getting to explore England and then also experiencing different cultures. And I had never been to Europe before, so that was like a really cool experience. Um, and I guess these are also like some of the places that I visited. I got to visit like a number of different places. And I was also in Brighton for like about 6 months. So I kind of learned, I guess, a lot about the culture there. Go to the next slide. And I guess kind of my like least favorite part of it was kind of how the classes were structured. I kind of found it to be sometimes repetitive, and sometimes the classes were 2 hours long, which I was just like not used to, and sometimes there weren't breaks, which can sometimes make focusing hard. Um, and it was also, hard to communicate across the time zone with like my parents and friends and everything. So I was sometimes like a little bit lonely, but um, and I did do kind of a lot of things alone, but it also kind of gave me like I guess, a greater independence and kind of confidence in myself. And I think the benefits of like studying abroad really kind of outweigh the cons because I'm really happy that I got to have this opportunity. And I kind of still think about my time in England a lot. And then also there's like one thing that I wish I knew before studying abroad, is I wish I had created a budget beforehand. I know that like a lot of people have kind of said that, but I really recommend doing this. And also like looking into scholarships is really important. Because I didn't realize like how expensive transportation would be. Because like here we just like show our IDs and then it's free and you can go on the bus. But like in the UK there's like the trains and the buses and both you kind of have to pay, and that can add up really fast. Um, and I also like recommend to just like bring things that remind you of home or your friends or family. I think that's like really important, but also, I don't know, make sure to have like space in your suitcase because you're probably gonna want to bring back like a lot of like souvenirs and things. And then I also recommend like keeping a journal so you can look back on your memories. But yeah.
And can I just add something? So essentially, first and foremost, thank you so much, Lola, for sharing that. And I just want to address that, right? These are things that are very, very real, right? There are going to be situations where the way that formats are different, right? So we'll do our best. And again, please ask those questions like, what does it feel like, right? We might not know exactly what the field is, but we can at least say, hey, well, if you're interested in knowing more of what it's like there on the ground, we actually have a form on our website where you can connect with an alumni that might have maybe particularly addressed or studied in that university you're going to, or generally just studied in the same country, right? So that you can connect with them. It's always great to so that you have an opportunity to talk to your peer where they can tell you, okay, well, these were my pros, these were my cons, right? And really use that information for yourself to make informed decisions on, oh, if this is what it's like in this part of the world, I don't know if I think I needed some extra support. Let's see if there's other universities that might provide that. And I mean, keeping communication very real as well, right? I mean, being 8 hours, 7 hours, depending on what part of the world you're in, Australia, 13 hours, right? Um, Coordinating, talking to people, your loved ones, family, that can prove a challenge in itself, especially when you're put into a situation where you've never been to before, right? A lot of different sounds, a lot of different emotions. And then plus that having to navigate the new people you're meeting, navigating your old friends and family. So these are all really valid situations, right? We want to paint it as a, hey, this is a great opportunity, but just know that there are things that are very real, really salient. And these things do happen to some students. And the hope is that we prepare or at least offer you enough so that you can either contact someone while you're there, contact us, and again, hopefully that we can make an experience as best as we can. And again, right, just know that in whatever reason, you're never at fault. If you feel that you're abroad and this just happens not to be for you, please contact us and we can create a plan so that we can support you as best as we can. If even if that means, hey, let's relocate you back home and back where you feel safe and comfortable, right? So always feel free to contact us. And just lastly, before I turn it back over to our colleagues here, is creating a budget and also talking about trips beforehand, right? Again, don't be afraid to ask those questions when you're talking to your global learning advisor, right? I know that there's this unspoken thing where, hey, we just have to go and focus on academics, but let's be real here. Like if you're going to Europe for the first time, I want you to go to these places. Go to Paris, go to Florence, go to Rome. Like if you have a 3-day weekend, why not, right? So please talk to us. I will share my experiences. I can share what I did when I studied abroad. I'll show you how to find flights and things like that that are outside of the curriculum, right? Of showing you what academics you can take. And I'll just impart my knowledge and use that as you see fit for your own specific situation, right? So please don't be afraid to ask those questions where you might like, oh, what are they going to think? I'm just there to party. I mean, let's be real. Like we're going to be going out once in a while. That's what just happens. Just come talk to us and we'll support you as best as we can. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we just have our contact information here, so you know where to reach out if you do have any follow-up questions after this presentation. If you have any like more general questions about global learning, I would recommend reaching out to the global learning team. But if you have questions specifically about satisfying major requirements abroad, I would recommend reaching out to us, and we might connect all together if needed, if you're looking for some new courses to be reviewed. And then here is our global learning site, which is also where I will be posting this recording and the slides if you ever want to go look back at it. And with that, we will just jump into a Q&A. So feel